Your diet is a bank account. Good food choices are good investments. A very good and warm morning to everyone. I am Vigneshwari. I take the privilege of comparing the guest lecture by Ms. Divna Jamima Ma'am, organized by Department of Nutrition, Food Service Management and Dietetics from Srimati Devkunbar Nanalal Vaishnav College for Women, Crumpet, on the account of National Nutrition Week 2021. The power of prayer cannot be explained, but the power of prayer can be experienced. Let's start today's program with our college prayer.
सत्यव्रतं सत्यपरं त्रिसत्यं सत्यस्य योनिं निहितं च सत्ये सत्यस्य सत्यं हृतसत्यनेत्रम् सत्यात्मकं त्वां शरणं प्रपन्नाः वाणी गुणानुकतने श्रवणौ कथायां हस्तौ च कर्मसु मनस्तव पादयोनः स्मृत्यां शिरस्तव निवास जगत्प्रणामे दृष्टि सदा दर्शनेस्तु भवत्तनूना नमो भगवते तस्मै कृष्णायाद्भुतकर्मणे रूपनाम विभेदेन जगत्क्रीडति यो यतः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
A balanced diet is a diet that contains different kinds of food in certain qualities and proportions so that requirements for calories, proteins, minerals, vitamins, and alternative nutrients in adequate and a small provision is reserved for additional nutrients to endure the short length of cleanness. To be inspired is great, but to be an inspiration is honor. Today, we are honored to have Ms. Devna Jamima Ma'am among us as our speaker of the day. Hearty welcome, ma'am. I call my friend Sindhu Bharati to introduce our speaker of the day.
I consider it an honor to introduce our speaker for today, Ms. Devna Jamima. Madam is a multifaceted personality who has worked as a nutrition tutor, dietitian, and assistant professor. Ms. Devna is presently working as assistant professor at Isabella Tobin College, Lucknow. She had completed her master's degree and master's in philosophy degree from Women's Christian College, Chennai. Madam has won several awards, including Pushparani Gold Medal for shining as the best outgoing student of the department 2012 and Wakefield Food Trophy and Dr. Florescence Theophilus Award for being the topper of her class in food service management. Ms. Devna has also won many laurels during her undergraduation as well. She has cleared the UGC National Eligibility Test, qualifying for lectureship. She has actively participated and also acted as a speaker in nutrition education programs. Ms. Devna has completed various certificate courses related to nutrition. We are very glad to have you with us today, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sindhu. Here to discuss on balanced food, how everything you do changes in your body. Please welcome Madam Devina Jamima ma'am.
May I start?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, please, ma'am.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's really nice to be here. Thank you, Sarah ma'am, for inviting me for this guest lecture. Thank you for the beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. Okay. So the topic that I was given for today was balanced food, or more specifically, a balanced diet. Okay. So let me just share my presentation and then. Yes, I think the screen's visible. Okay. So the food that we're eating is putting 11 million of us into an early grave every year. So this newspaper article is from the Times of India on 7th April 2019. So chew on this. In India, the dietary risk was the second highest factor in India, driving most death and disability combined after malnutrition in 2017. The dietary risk increased by 34.9% between 2007 and 2017. Foodborne diseases cost India $15 billion, and globally, a poor diet was linked to 10.9 million deaths of the total 9.5 million deaths from cardiovascular diseases, and then from cancer and diabetes. So here you can see this really, scary statistics. Okay, and what were the dangers that were involved? 3 million deaths from too much of salt, and 3 million deaths from eating too few whole grains, 2 million deaths from eating very little fruits, and then low levels of nuts, seeds, and vegetables, omega-3 fatty acids, fibers, and this was taken from a study done in Lancet. So the point is, what we are not eating is killing us. So are we eating enough? Now we come to the question, what is a diet? So I'm sure all of you would have heard this term diet, in college, especially your friends, you're all talking, I'm on this diet or I'm on that diet. So what is a diet? It's something that you are eating and not something that you're on. It's not something that I'm on a diet, not like that, but it's something that you're consuming every day. So if in case you want to, consume a healthy diet and you want to make some changes, these changes should be gradual and they should be sustainable. Okay, it's not like I'm going to stop carbohydrates all at once, or I'm going to stop fats all at once. Okay, and then we have to be very careful that we do not follow others, because in diet there is no one size fits all. Because my neighborhood auntie followed this diet and she lost like so many kilos, I'm also going to follow this diet and I'm also going to lose. Okay, you can't be sure of that, because everyone's body is different, and your diet, it changes over time when you grow old or when you have a sickness, or come on based on your body composition and activity that you're following. And there are no quick fix solutions, like I just said, it's not like I eat this suddenly and then I lose so many kgs, or I just do this particular exercise and then I'm losing so much. It's not like that. Okay, next we come to what is a balanced diet. Like a student, she just said in the introduction, a balanced diet is something that has all the important nutrients, and by important nutrients we mean the carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, proteins, okay, fiber. And when we eat a sufficient, and the food that we consume is nutritious, it makes sure that our health is also good, and therefore it's very essential that we have a balanced diet. And also, when we follow a healthy or a balanced diet, it helps to reduce the risk of diseases, okay, and overall, or our general health is improved. And then we have to consume at least 5 portions of fruits and vegetables every day. Drink plenty of water, 6 to 8 glasses is recommended. And then at least consume 2-3 portions of fish, because fish is a very good source of omega-3 fatty acids. Okay. And then these are just tips that we have to follow. Eating breakfast daily, because when we consume breakfast in the morning, it helps to prevent that hunger pang, so that we don't snack. Okay, because snacking or nibbling on foods is a great contributor to putting on weight, or overconsumption of food, because we don't realize that we are consuming a lot of food by just because we're nibbling a bite of 2-3 chips here, or maybe 1 or 2 biscuits there, or maybe a bar of chocolate here, and so on and so forth. Okay. And then adults are also advised to conduct 150 minutes of moderate exercise every year. So this is just an introduction to a balanced diet. So like we discussed, the nutrients are divided into, mainly 2 parts: macronutrients and micronutrients. So by macronutrients, we mean carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Okay, and micronutrients consist of our vitamins and minerals. In carbohydrates, we have our starch, fiber, simple sugars. So starch is all your your whole grains, all these foods, your potatoes and starchy vegetables, rice, all of this are good sources of starch. Fiber, you have your fruits and vegetables, and simple sugars, you have your your table sugar and the sweets that we consume, chocolates and all that. Okay, so so that's carbohydrates. And then we come to proteins, which are found in mostly meat, fish, beans, lentils, nuts and seeds. And in fats, we have our saturated and unsaturated fats. Saturated fats are your fats like butters and animal fats, whereas unsaturated fats, we have all our vegetable oils, okay, and our unrefined oils and all those. Next, we come to vitamins and minerals. Vitamins, again, we have fat soluble, water soluble vitamins, and minerals. Again, there are so many minerals. The most essential ones being iron and iodine and all these minerals. Okay, so these are just introduction into what are the main macro and micronutrients. I think most of you you already know all this, so this is basically just like a brush up on our knowledge. Now I want to focus on some important points related to fiber, dietary fiber. So dietary fiber, of course, we consume it every day, but there are so many health benefits. Okay, so some of these health benefits are: it helps in reducing the incidence of coronary heart disease, stroke, hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and even some gastrointestinal diseases. And not just that, it lowers the blood pressure and also the serum cholesterol levels. And the increased intake of soluble fiber found in foods like your oats or bananas, this improves the glycemia and insulin sensitivity in non-diabetic and diabetic individuals. Then we have fiber supplementation, which helps in weight reduction, especially in obesity. Then in some gastrointestinal disorders like gastroesophageal reflux disease or duodenal ulcers, diverticulitis, constipation, hemorrhoids. So these conditions are very much benefited by the intake of fiber. Then we have prebiotic fibers, which also some studies have shown that they increase the immune function. Okay, and it's not very different for adults and children. It's more or less the same benefits for adults and children. So which is why fiber has to be consumed every day, be it in the form of fruits or vegetables. Okay, which is why also dietitians and doctors, they specify on eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, one of the main reasons being that they are good sources of fiber. Now, there are a few things that we have to be careful of. One is sodium, which we consume in the form of table salt. So excess sodium can lead to high blood pressure, stroke, heart disease, kidney disease, and there are some detrimental effects on calcium and bone metabolism. Certain cancers, I think like stomach cancer and asthma severity will increase. And 1 teaspoon of salt, it contains 2300 mg of sodium. And according to the RDA, which they have now given, that is RDA 2020, it is said that for an average male or a female, the RDA is only 2000 mg per day, which means that if we take 1 teaspoon of salt, which contains 2300 mg of sodium, we have to only consume around 1/4 of that salt. And that's because sodium does not come only from the table salt that we consume, but also from all the different foods that we eat, even the the this curries that we eat, or the biscuits or chips or whatever processed foods we consume, or even in some vegetables and fruits, there's a lot of sodium that's present there. Okay, so we should not we have to change our mindset from thinking that sodium consumption or salt is only from salt that we sprinkle on our food. It's not just that, but it's also from the different foods that we consume, especially with processed foods. I know in college and all, it's very easy, we don't even think about it. We just keep snacking. Like somebody opens a packet of chips and we eat there, and then 1 or 2 chips, and then somebody opens something else and then we eat that. So unconsciously there is a lot of sodium intake. So if we think that I'm just using so much salt, which means my sodium consumption is very less, we are wrong about it, because we consume sodium in a lot of different forms. So we have to be really careful of sodium. And one more reason that I want to specify why we have to be careful is because later on in life, when we are older, this is going to play an important role in our body metabolism, leading to common diseases like your high blood pressure and all that. Next we come to I wanted to talk about this topic, prebiotics and probiotics, because I'm super interested in probiotics and fermented food, especially. Even for my MPhil thesis, I had worked on a fermented food only. So what are prebiotics and what are probiotics? We'll start with probiotics. These are strains of bacteria that, good bacteria that live in our gut or in our digestive system, and they benefit our body. They benefit our body by their metabolism, or whatever their activity is. And what is prebiotics? So we shouldn't get confused between pro and prebiotics. Probiotic is the bacteria that lives in our gut, the healthy bacteria that lives in our gut, or the good bacteria that lives in our gut. Whereas prebiotic is a food for that bacteria. So that can be in the form of certain plant sugars, plant fibers. Okay. So this prebiotics, it helps in the growth of the probiotics. Okay. So in this picture on the screen, you can see there are some examples of probiotics and prebiotics. And by probiotics, we have our yogurt, we have our sour cream, and they've given some examples of kefir and probiotic. Most simple example is our curd. In Hindi, we say dahi. In Tamil, I think it's tair. Okay, so it's very it's a most common thing. It's not just it's not like I have to buy some kind of fancy yogurt in the supermarket. It's the normal lassi or the buttermilk that you drink, or the curd that you consume. That's a very, very good source or excellent source of probiotics. And now in prebiotics, we have certain kinds of vegetables. Certain here they've given an example of asparagus and garlic and wheat bran, bananas. Okay, not just that, they have carrots and a lot of, usually the fruits and vegetables that we consume, they contain a lot of substances that act as prebiotics for the gut bacteria in our digestive system. Okay, so that's about pre and probiotics. Okay, so now we saw what's a balanced diet, what are the components of a balanced diet. Now we come to how do we get a balanced diet. So the United States government came up with this idea called as a My Plate. So this My Plate, this is a guide, or in this you can see a picture of My Plate diagram. They have asked us to eat a maximum of the vegetables, and the more colorful the vegetables are, the better it is for our health. And then we have fruits. So in fruits, again, they have specified that it's better that we consume the whole fruit, because you have the added benefit of the fiber instead of just consuming the fruit drink. Then half our plate should be full of vegetables and fruits, because they are having a lot of antioxidants and fiber. I will be discussing about this again later, the different antioxidants and that are present in fruits and vegetables. Then we have our protein, which is you can have either a vegetable protein or animal protein, or make sure that the protein that you intake is adequate for our body. Like, for example, if you're a vegetarian and you don't consume a non-vegetarian foods, then what we can do is you can consume a combination of beans and lentils, so that you make sure that you get adequate amounts of all the essential amino acids, because there are some amino acids which are present in one kind of lentil, or another kind of amino acid is present in some other kind of bean. So you have, there are a lot of varieties of lentils and beans present, so you can consume a combination of all those to make sure that your amino acid supply is adequate through your diet. So here they've, otherwise for non-vegetarian foods, that it's fish or chicken, or all these are obviously are good sources of protein. And lean protein is very good compared to like fatty protein, like foods like your red meat and all that. So lean protein like chicken and fish are much more healthier to be consumed. Then we have our grains. In grains we have whole grains. So refined grains like white rice and white bread, it's not that they have less nutrition, but they definitely have less fiber in them, because all the bran is removed while processing. In this case, we can make sure that the quantity in which you consume such foods are less. Okay, and then you can choose more of the foods that are made with whole grains. And one thing also, whole grains contain a lot of B vitamins. Okay, so they have fiber, they have iron, they have B vitamins. So that's good. Then we have our dairy. So in dairy, again, we can consume it in the form of milk or curd or yogurt, buttermilk, cheese, any of this form. So this is the whole idea of a balanced diet in a My Plate guide. Okay, then we come to this very prevalent aspect called as malnutrition. So what is malnutrition? It's a condition in the human body that can occur because you're consuming less food, or less nutrients or more nutrients. So malnutrition is not only that a person is very thin and weak, it can also be obese. So that will be that is overnutrition. And then we have undernutrition, in which we have people, especially children in poor countries, who suffer from this kwashiorkor and marasmus, protein energy malnutrition, and all these conditions. So when we talk about nutrients, we obviously know that these nutrients are calories, carbohydrates, vitamins, proteins, and minerals. Okay, and when there is malnutrition or undernutrition or even overnutrition during conditions like pregnancy, that might cause a detrimental, that might have a detrimental effect on the child in the mother's womb. Okay. Yeah. Then, so when we talk about malnutrition or overnutrition or undernutrition, there is a term called as hidden hunger. I'm sure you might have heard of this. Hidden hunger. Now, what is this hidden hunger? Hidden hunger is when a person is lacking in the, basic minerals and vitamins. So when the vitamin and mineral intake or absorption in the body is low, that results in hidden hunger. Now, when we talk about hidden hunger, when we just look at a person, okay, so we can't say that he has hidden hunger, or we cannot say that they are malnourished, because they look all nice and healthy outside, the face all good, and you can't tell. But they might be suffering from some kind of iron deficiency or iodine deficiency, or any nutrient that is a mineral. So when we know that many of these minerals and vitamins, they play very important roles in our body metabolism. So in our body metabolism, when we lack these vitamins, that might cause other problems. They have said like diseases or infections. Okay, so when we have micronutrient deficiencies, that might lead to all these conditions. A most common one is your iron deficiency, anemia. You have some iodine deficiency disorder. So all of these, okay, will be the result of this hidden hunger, which means that the person is not consuming or not getting enough quantities of vitamins and minerals. So according to FAO 2013, hidden hunger, also known as micronutrient deficiency, afflicts more than 2 billion individuals, or 1 in 3 people globally. So you know that, so you can see that these statistics are very alarming. They have said that 1 in 3 people globally, which is, a very, very high rate. Okay, so it's good for us to be aware that hidden hunger also exists, and take all the necessary precautions, especially in our lives, in our families, to make sure that we receive adequate amount of vitamins and minerals in our diet. So these are just some statistics that I found about malnutrition in India. So according to the food and according to the FAO, 14.5% of India's population is undernourished. Okay, which means that they are not getting enough nutrient for a good and healthy lifestyle. Nutrients for a good and healthy lifestyle. And in the Global Hunger Index of 2019 report, India is ranked abysmally low at 102 102nd position out of 117 countries, which is really bad. So there's just 117 countries in the Global Hunger Index, and India is at the 102 position. Then ICMR gave a report saying that the major contributing factor behind the death of these children below 5 years was malnutrition in children. Then, according to the UNICEF report, 38% of children younger than 5 years in India are stunted. And stunting, is low height for age. So if a child is supposed to be a particular height at a particular age, they have not reached that height by the age, so that will lead to stunting. Then approximately 40% of children from the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and other backward classes are stunted. And again, according to UNICEF, India is at the 10th spot among countries with the highest number of underweight children. Then India is at the 17th spot for the highest number of stunted children. Then the states that are having the highest percentage of underweight children in India are Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh. So these are some alarming statistics about malnutrition in India. So there's a Landsat study which was done, which stated that hundreds of deaths in India are caused by a poor diet. So a poor diet leads to hundreds of deaths in India annually, according to this Lancet study. And they found that globally, 1 in 5 people die due to the lack of optimal amount of food and nutrients on their plates. So they showed a trend in the consumption of 15 dietary factors from 1990 to 2017 in 195 countries, showing that literally almost every region of the world can improve or benefit from rebalancing their diets or making some good changes in their diets. Then the study also showed that 1 in 5 deaths globally, equivalent to 11 million deaths, are associated with poor diet, and diet contributes to a range of chronic diseases in people around the world. And in 2017, see, this point was very shocking to me, because they said that more deaths were caused by diets with low amounts of food such as whole grains, fruit, nuts, and seeds than by diets with high levels of food like trans fat, sugary drinks, and high levels of processed meats. So they said that it is not that people are consuming a lot of sugar and red processed meats, and it's not that because of that they are dying, but it is because of the reason that they are not consuming enough of the whole grains and the fruits and vegetables. Okay, so this was study done by Lancet. Now coming to all the different types of diets. So these days, the most common diet that you hear about is the keto diet, which is your low carbohydrate, high fat, or high protein diet. Okay, and under keto diet. So this is a very general term, keto diet, and there are many other diets that have been followed, like from a long time ago, that are under keto diets, and these are like Atkins diet and Dukan's diet and all these things. But the main the main concept around it is, low carbohydrate, high fat, and high protein. So now what happens when our body does not get enough glucose, enough sugars, or enough carbohydrate for the metabolism? It starts breaking down the non-carbohydrate sources, so that becomes fat or protein. And when it breaks down these non-carbohydrate sources, it releases these substances called ketones. Okay, so that hence the name a keto. Keto diet has become very popular these days, but many people, they don't understand the science behind it, and just do it for the sake of doing it. It becomes a fad or a trend. Okay, so just because someone else is doing it, like I personally have seen many people that I knew when I think last year or 2 or 3 years back, when the keto diet just blew up. Like everybody everywhere I was looking at, they were just following the keto diet. And I saw many people who lost a lot of weight. I'm not saying that it is not good, or it's bad. I'm not saying that. I did see many people lose a lot of weight, but the thing is, in the long run, I saw them regain that weight, because this is not something that is easy to follow throughout your life. Okay, so that people don't understand at that moment. In the hype, they just do it, and then later they find out that it's not easy to continue this, and then slowly they start dropping out of it. And when they start dropping out of it, the body again, now the body has to get back or to its normal functioning. So again, it starts, you start regaining weight. Now our brain needs around 120 grams of glucose every day, and and only then we have a proper or a smooth functioning of the brain. Now when the glucose falls below 40 mg per dl, then the functioning of the brain starts getting affected. In a keto diet, what happens is, when that's why they say you should not completely stop the carbohydrate. There must be some consumption of carbohydrate, because the main function of the brain needs at least 120 grams, and sometimes even a little bit less it can function, but the functioning will not be smooth, which means that your body will be bearing the brunt of this complete depletion of carbohydrates. So actually, I don't know if you have seen the previous year's RDA tables that the ICMR gives. The previous year's RDA table, they had not given the RDA for carbohydrate, but in RDA 2020 now they have given the the values for the carbohydrate intake also, because of this. So in RDA 2020, they have specified that the brain needs glucose for smooth functioning. Okay, which is why they have mentioned it. Now there are other diets like your vegan diet. So in vegan diet, they consume only vegetables and grains and all plant foods, nuts, and fruits, and food of plants. And I've heard many vegans, they do not even consume animal byproducts such as milk or honey, just because they're made from animals. I mean, they come from animals, they don't consume that. Okay, so in this case, they might miss out on all the essential nutrients like protein, calcium, omega-3 fatty acids, zinc, and vitamins. Okay, so whenever people follow these diets, they have to make sure that they are receiving all the adequate amount of nutrients. So like I gave an example of consuming a combination of lentils and pulses in case you don't eat non-vegetarian foods. So in that case, you will not miss out on all the B vitamins, okay, or the essential amino acids. Okay, and then we have intermittent fasting, which is okay. Sometimes it works for some people who can manage it, but many times what happens is intermittent fasting might lead to conditions like gastritis or peptic ulcer. So again, it depends on how the person is managing, holding that diet. Then again, this gluten-free diet also, it became a fad, like everyone's consuming gluten-free diet. So these gluten, what is this gluten? These are kinds of proteins which are found in foods like your maize and wheat and all that. Okay, so what happens in this condition of certain gastrointestinal condition like your celiac disease? So celiac disease is a autoimmune disease where the body mistakes the gluten for some kind of foreign body and starts attacking its own, an autoimmune disease where the body attacks its own cells. So in this case, it's the gluten sensitivity is in extreme cases, then it's good that you do not consume gluten, or follow a completely gluten free diet. But when people just follow it for the sake of a trend or a fad or things, something like that, then again the body has to adjust itself or adapt itself. And in many cases, sometimes again when they come back to like consume something that contains gluten, then the body might again act against it. So it just creates a mess. And so young people, especially girls, they feel that because I'm consuming excess fat or things, just cut down all the fatty foods, no fats at all. So in fats, again, we have good fats and bad fats. So we have foods that are high in cholesterol. Okay, if you reduce it, but fats should not like absolutely be cut off, because when we do that, what happens is, we have fat soluble vitamins and water soluble vitamins, and our body will not get the fat soluble vitamins. And also, especially in women, all our hormones are steroid based. So when we completely cut off these fats, then what happens is it might cause some a problem or in the manufacturing or developing of these hormones. And that might lead to some hormonal imbalance, or we don't know exactly how the body how every person's body reacts to certain conditions. So which is why you must never cut out one particular thing totally from the diet, like completely fat free or completely carbohydrate free. Okay, again, all of this brings us to the fact of why we are discussing that a balanced diet is so important to our bodies. So if you in case want to have a diet that I have to have a diet like I have to do this diet or whatever, I would suggest a rainbow diet. So a rainbow diet, this is just like a combination of all the colors of fruits and vegetables. And these are very, very rich in antioxidants. So given here, I've given a list of all these different foods and vegetables that contain all these different antioxidants. We have red foods. They contain, see, all these red foods like your tomatoes and apples and pomegranates and all your berries and red chilies, also some are there. Okay, so these contain lycopene, anthocyanins, beta carotene, vitamin C. So many of these antioxidants are very helpful in fighting against your free radicals, your cancer inducing radicals, and all of these things. And lycopene is a very strong antioxidant that has been linked to reductions in cancer risk. Then we have our orange and deep yellow foods. Over here we have all our oranges. We have our green this yellow apples are there, bananas and bell peppers. Okay, so all of these different orange and deep yellow foods, your papayas and all that. These contain carotenoids, bioflavonoids, vitamin C. And we know beta carotene is the most important carotenoid that we know of, because it converts, converts beta carotene into vitamin A, and that is a potent antioxidant. Then we have green foods, your cucumbers, grapes, and all of these things, kiwi. Okay, so these contain lutein and indoles and all of these. And then we have your blue and purple foods. Again, we have our brinjals, okay, and all some kind of berries and all these purple grapes. And these again provide anthocyanins and flavonoids, and they also provide vitamin E and iodine. And these are important for the function of the thyroid gland, and potassium, which keeps oxygen supplied to the brain. Okay, so this would, I would say that following a rainbow diet, or making sure that your diet consumes all of these different colors, is the best kind of diet. And when we talk about these, we must also remember that in the method of cooking, we must make sure that we don't totally peel off all these the peel of all the skins of these fruits. Many of these skins contain a lot of antioxidants, because that's where the component, the antioxidant, is present. Okay, like in many studies, they have shown that in peel, compared to the peel and the flesh or the pulp of the fruit or the vegetable, the peel contains more. So you can use these peels. Even in cucumber also, many people, we usually just peel off all the cucumber skins, but we can just wash it and consume it with the skin. So not only is it more nutritious, it also gives you a nice texture, that crispiness. So things like that. Okay, so yeah, that's something that we can pay attention to. So okay, so then in the ending, I want to say there are 4 verticals for a healthy lifestyle. And the first one we just spoke about is a balanced diet. So here moderation is the key. Everything in moderation. It's not that I should or shouldn't eat something, but it's rather that I eat it in moderate quantities, in proportionate quantities. So when we maintain this kind of an attitude of eating or consuming everything in moderation, not only do we get to experience all the different kinds of foods, but we also we have our bodies will have all the needed or the necessary nutrients. And then the second one is exercise, which is like super important, especially for young youth and young girls, boys. So if you're going to be walking to college, so yeah, you can get we get a little bit of exercise here and there walking around college here, but then we come home and then we just lie down or we sleep on the sofa, on the couch. So it's better that we keep our bodies active, some small thing here and there. Don't consume your household chores as exercise. Don't think that just because I'm going to be washing my clothes or washing the vessels in the kitchen or helping mommy with the cooking, I'm getting exercise. No. What happens is when we continuously do something, our body gets accustomed to it, but you need to perform an extra activity to make sure that your body, you lose more calories. Then we have sleep. Now sleep nowadays is becoming very, very difficult for people because now we have our phones in our hands, and usually I know all of you can relate to it. Whenever we lie down, we have the phone, watch something, I don't know, like web series, YouTube, whatever, and then you keep watching. Suddenly you see the time, it's like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Okay, and then you're like, oh no, tomorrow I have to go to college, so I'll close this and I'll sleep. So you're not getting enough sleep. Now again, sleep is very important because that's when in the night, when the room is all dark, when you're sleeping, is when your melatonin hormone is secreted. And melatonin helps in the secretion of the growth hormone, and growth hormone is very important for our body because it not only helps in reducing your fat mass but also increases your muscle mass. So you see there's a whole big a chain or a cycle of it. So when we don't sleep, our hormones are not secreted properly, and that might cause lots of changes in our body, fat metabolism, muscle mass metabolism, and all of these things. Okay, which is why sleep is like very important. Make sure that you get at least like 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day. That's the old, there's an old what is that nursery rhyme: early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. I think that means a lot these days also, because when you sleep early, you wake up early, not only does our body feel active and you feel good, but it's very mentally, physically, it's very relaxing. Then the last one is obviously de-stress. Make sure that take up a hobby. Now we are in your college days. Many of you are in college days and you don't have so much of stress, but once you start working, there are so many things that keep affecting you from all sides, that you have to care for something and then something else pops up. So all of these things keep happening. So make sure that do something to relieve, remove your stress, whatever, music, dancing, painting, go on walks, hikes, whatever. Okay, and make sure that you don't have a stress. So these 4 verticals, you can remember them. For a healthy lifestyle, make sure you have all of these 4 in your life. A balanced diet where everything in moderation is the key. Then you have your exercise, then you have proper sleep, then we have a de-stressing activities. So with this I conclude the lecture. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was an enlightening session. And I thank you again for highlighting the value of balanced diet in our trending lifestyle. Ma'am, can we have an question and answer session now?
Yes, please.
Over to you, Sneha.
Good morning, ma'am. So our first question is from the probiotics. Since probiotics and humans are in a symbiotic bond, is there any chance these microorganisms can produce toxins negatively affecting the human?
Okay, so symbiotics, as symbiotics are a combination of both pro and prebiotics, and whereas there are some kind of organisms which affect humans, in the normal diet that we're consuming, like your curd or things, these organisms are more or less not present. So unless you're having some specific condition where, like sometimes you might be lactose intolerant or something like that, but actually for those people also probiotics are okay if they consume it. Not no, in our usual diet, no, these kinds of organisms don't cause any kind of negative reactions in our body.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, the second question is, will cutting out rice from my diet help me lose weight, though rice is my staple meal?
Okay, so like I said, everything in moderation. There is no need to absolutely cut off rice. You can consume it in less quantity, but make sure you increase the quantity of your fiber intake and your fruit and vegetable intake. But again, no, there is absolutely no need that you should completely cut out rice. No, little bit, maybe a small quantity, portion size. Keep your mind on the portion size, and if they make the portion size small, and then you can continue. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is, what is the difference between pink Himalayan salt and normal table salt? Which one is better?
I think pink Himalayan salt contains some kind of like added minerals. I'm not sure though. But salt being salt, in whatever form you consume, be it Himalayan salt or normal table salt or some kind of flavored salt, the sodium content is going to be the same. So I would I would suggest whether you're going to be consuming Himalayan salt or normal salt, keep the quantity less.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, another question. Is dairy necessary to be added in my diet to make it complete?
Dairy. Yes, I just said yes. Dairy is one of the few sources which which give you good protein other than your non-vegetarian foods. So in case you think that you don't want to drink milk or things like that, you can always go for curd or yogurt or buttermilk, okay, in some form or the other. Because like I already mentioned, balanced diet, you need to have all those components to make it balanced, which is why it is called a balanced diet, because it has all those components, right? So yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we still have a few other questions. Is there any other way to stimulate secretion of hormones to prevent diseases like stunted growth?
Sorry, is there any other way to
stimulate the secretion of hormones to prevent diseases like stunted growth?
Okay, so stunting happens because one of the reasons being that you're not getting enough nutrition. The other reason is if it is a genetic condition. So if it's a genetic condition, obviously we cannot do anything about it. But if it is a dietary condition, then yes, because not only is it about secreting the hormones. To secrete those hormones, you need the nutrients or the minerals which are causing the metabolism to occur, right? Again, it brings it down to the fact that you have to be consuming a proper diet, even to make sure that your thing. And this is especially important for pregnant mothers, because if mothers are not careful about their diet, that will affect their children.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, another common question, does fasting affect in balancing my meal?
So yes, so I was talking about intermittent fasting, right? So the first and foremost thing that I want to specify is, if you want to, even if you want to lose weight or whatever, eat properly and exercise well. That is the first thing that I would suggest. Okay. The second thing is, if in case you do want to fasting, talk to a proper dietitian or talk to someone who knows their subject, and come up with a plan that you think is suitable for your body. Don't take it on into your own hands, saying that I will just fast for so many hours and then I'll eat something and then I'll fast again. So when you do it on your own wisdom and apply your own logic to it, sometimes you might end up with conditions like peptic ulcer, because your stomach, if it's empty for a longer period of time, might cause some peptic ulcer or gastritis or something like that. So I'm not saying it is wrong or bad. If you want to do it, make sure that you do it properly. Take a guidance of a specialist, and then you can go ahead with that.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question. How can hidden hunger be diagnosed or identified?
Okay. So hidden hunger can only be diagnosed when they do a clinical examination or when they do a biochemical examination. But to prevent hidden hunger, if you just check their diet, like for example, if you're going to go to a village and do a case study or a survey there and find out that their diet, staple diet or their main sources of food just contains, like rice or dal, and they are not growing any vegetables or anything, like very few only they consume, automatically you don't even have to diagnose it, that they might be having some deficiencies because their diet is not balanced. Okay, so in that way, so you can check your diet or your family's diet. You can make since many of you are nutrition students, a 24-hour recall or a 3-day recall. Okay, so you can ask your friends what have you eaten in the last 2-3 days, what have you eaten, check their the foods that they have consumed or the diet that they have consumed. On seeing that itself, you will realize, you will come to know whether they are going to be lacking in some kind of nutrients or not. But otherwise, you can confirm it through doing a biochemical test or a clinical examination in the hospital. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, next question. On what basis can we conclude that food is balanced since different individuals have different requirements?
Yes. Okay, which is why they have come up with this My Plate guide. Okay, so you have to make sure that you have all the different types of all the different components on your plate, regardless of what kind of body type you are in. Okay, so because fruits and vegetables, they are they give you a lot of vitamins and fiber and all these things. So if you're going to be an obese individual, you can consume more of fruits and vegetables. Okay, if you're going to be a lean individual, even then you can consume all the necessary fruits and vegetables. So the body requirement, depending on the body requirement, the idea of the My Plate does not change. It's the same for everyone. Okay, but the quantity and the type of food that you incorporate in the My Plate can be different for individual to individual, depending on your likes or whatever. So protein is going to be protein whether you're going to be consuming non-vegetarian food or whether you're going to be consuming beans or lentils. Okay, and the same thing goes for cereals. If you're going to be consuming whole grain, which is much more better for you than if you're going to be consuming refined cereal products. So the entire idea of the My Plate does not change from person to person, but the food that you consume in the My Plate, like the different kind of a protein or the different kind of food, that might change, and that again, yes, depends on your body type and your requirement.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is, what kind of foods can be included and excluded for a person having hypothyroidism? How long should the restrictions be continued?
Hyperthyroidism.
Hypothyroidism.
Okay. So in basically in any of these thyroid related problems, you have to make sure that you keep your mind on goitrogens, the food that contain goitrogens. So these are all the foods that your like your cruciferous family vegetables, your cabbage, cauliflower, and all that. But that again, when you cook them properly, you can consume them in moderate quantities, because the goitrogens are destroyed when you cook them properly. Okay, so if you can reduce the amount of goitrogenic foods that you eat in your diet, and if it's going to be a lifelong problem, then yes you have to keep your mind throughout. I mean, you have to keep following a food that is less in goitrogens throughout your life. But otherwise, like once, if it's just going to be like a few days, and if you're going to be taking medication for it, also this thyroid medications, you must make sure that it is taken on an empty stomach. That you have to remember that. And usually when they in thyroid related problems, it is like a lifelong problem. So yeah, throughout your life, you have to keep an eye on your diet and try to minimize goitrogenic foods.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we have a last question, ma'am. How many meals should I take in a day to keep my diet balanced?
How many meals
should I take in a day to keep my diet balanced?
Okay, so when you talk about the number of meals, it's always more and small. More number of meals, but small. Okay, so I would just, you can eat 4 to 5 times a day, but you keep your quantities very small. Okay, instead of eating a huge lunch or a huge dinner, you can divide that into 3 or 4 different sessions, and you can consume them. So 4 to 5 times, but less quantities, smaller quantities. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for answering the question.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your valuable time to get connected with us on the National Nutrition Week Celebration 2021. A balanced diet supplies the nutrients to our body to work effectively. Without balanced nutrition, our body is more prone to disease, infection, fatigue, and low performance. Every time you get to eat is an opportunity to nourish your body. With this, we come to an end on today's session. Stay tuned for the next scientific talk on nutrition in infection by Ms. Deepalakshmi on 3rd September 2021. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Thank you, ma'am.
Stevena ma'am, thank you so much for your wonderful session, ma'am. It's a pleasure having you with us today.
Not at all, Sarah ma'am. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.